Welcome to our monthly coffee hour. Hopefully, you have a beverage, coffee, tea, whatever. We are here to support you. Yes, good. You don't have to keep your camera on if you just want to listen or type things in the chat. Maddie and I are here to support you. We may even do a demo. I abbreviated our coffee hour just because everyone's so busy. We're just going to do a 30-minute kind of check-in. I do want to share a highlight of some things that we've rolled out in our Skool platform. We are also starting to feature more on Instagram. So we're moving into other platforms to make this content available to support you, our fellow solopreneurs. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen here. And here we are on our Skool platform. If you go to the classroom, you've heard me talk quite a bit about the Every Penny Challenge. That's because we're in week 4, and I'll go ahead and open it. We're in week 4, and I'll highlight what we have. Those who are participating, when you get to the 4th out of 7th week, I provided an Excel spreadsheet that you can download. So you can go from physically writing your transactions in your financial journal to a spreadsheet. Now, here's an image of it, and I'm just going to walk you through because I added a couple things up here. Sometimes, and I've done this myself, where I forget to record from one of my accounts. So I made a little piece at the top where you can write the account name, you can check it off. Also, here, I'll just zoom in. On the left, as was shared in the when I explained the Every Penny Challenge, you've got your income here, action items on the left, and then expenses. Some may need 2 pages each week, but just go ahead and write your date range and download the Excel and just start entering your transactions. Even though you're not physically writing it, it's still a great habit to engage and become aware of what's going on with your money. I every week, when more so when I'm on my personal tracking, I'm finding surprises, things I wasn't aware of, and it's kind of I don't want to say embarrassing, but it's like, oh my gosh, what did I spend that on? It's easy to just swipe your card and not realize later on, oh, that expense, I didn't budget for it, but yet here it is. So that's one of the many benefits of doing that challenge. And I want to make sure that resource is available to you all. Also, each week I'm throwing out a question of reflection. This week, on week 4, the question is, which expenses in your business may no longer align with your current financial goals and priorities? So, those of you who have already set up your financial plan or your operating budget for the year, and you're doing this challenge, you want to think about what are those things that I no longer need. For example, I subscribe to Audible, and that was part of my professional development. Well, I wasn't utilizing Audible as frequently. I'm actually reading a physical book more than on listening to it. So that particular expense is no longer aligning with this season of my business. So that is one example that I can eliminate very easily, and that'll save me almost $200 a year, which can be redirected to another purpose. So I want to make sure you guys take time to kind of go through all of the pause and reflection here. And then as we're over halfway through the challenge, I also added a bonus. This is a video I uploaded that will give you some background, kind of almost like white noise, but it's very special to me, the location. And I wanted to make that available for those who like to have kind of a background vibe as you're working. Any questions about the Every Penny Challenge? You can put it in the chat or come off mute. And as I said, this can be used not just for your business, but I highly encourage you doing it for personal as well. If you don't want to use a spreadsheet online, of course, can't see that very well. You can always print it out and each week just continue to write it down if you prefer. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to the classroom. Another feature that I think is really important is our accounting alignment guide. This is monthly themes where we share with you some highlights and things to think about each month. And we're closing down month 2, which was systemizing our reporting, going through and reconciling our prior month, reviewing financials, um, and then I always like to throw in a challenge for those who, I don't want to say overachievers, but for those who are more aggressively pursuing, maybe getting their financials in order, you've got challenges each month. And we are entering our 3rd month. Next week, you'll see more content, videos, and resources where we're going to focus on a new accounting alignment theme. So I encourage you all to check those out as well. Based on that, let me see what else is going on our calendar here. Next month, as you can see, we'll do a new release for our accounting theme on Tuesday the 3rd, and then we'll continue with our Every Penny Challenge and co-working. And I do want to mention, even though the Every Penny Challenge, the last one, the 7 weeks ends on the 19th, we will roll this out 3 more times this year. So if you miss this series, you can pick it up later. It's really evergreen. You can do it any time of the year, but you'll hear me promote it again in a couple months and then later on through the year. So this is for you all to help you get your finances on track if you kind of strayed off the path a little. All right, I'm going to stop sharing because I want to take a minute, go through, let's see. Do we have any questions first? Let me check the chat. Have any questions we need to get out of the way? Okay. So what I'm going to do is just a little demo. Okay, let me walk through a reconciliation. So if you're keeping up each month, your beginning balance will roll over from whatever your ending balance was the last month. In this sample, they don't have the history set up. So I'm just going to say their ending balance was 7,500. And we'll say we're reconciling January. And here's a pop-up that says we have some transactions that need to be categorized. For the sake of a quick demo, I'm just going to go through this very briefly without going back through categorizing. So imagine you've got your bank statement. Here's your transactions that have been coded in QuickBooks. And I tend to sometimes just like to start with the income and get that part, out of the way. That one tends to be not as much volume for my type of industry. So it's less quantity of transactions. So it's easier to just look at your bank statement. Now notice, for whatever reason, this payment hasn't posted. That's from November of last year. So I would research that. But let's say I'm looking at my statement and I see this from Freeman's, this from Design. You just go through and mark them off. And then the same goes true as your payments. And as you're going through, you'll see your payment number change, which should match. Usually it'll be called debit on your bank statement, and then your deposits will match the credits. So you go through and your goal is to have a 0 difference. Many of you know this, but to see it may be helpful to inspire you to keep up with your reconciliation. So once you've reconciled everything, what I like to do, I'm going to save that for later. I like to go back through my reports. So over here, I tend to go to the profit and loss most frequently. And let's say we're just going to do last month. And here we are. I'm going to start with the expenses. And I would just click through and just take a quick glimpse. As you see, they're all in their buckets. So advertising, that looks good. The automobile category, fuel, going through to see, is everything coded properly? For some of you, you even have to link certain transactions to clients or specific jobs. So it's really important that you do a review before you issue your financials, just to see if anything looks out of whack. So here's a maintenance and repair for some equipment. Had a couple lunches at Bob's Burger. That looks good. Telephone expense and utilities. Okay, now that everything looks good, in this sample company, I don't have the ability to run a report of the budget versus actual, but that is highly, highly recommended. Those of you who have done our money management series, there's the first video actually is about financial planning and budgeting and things. So make sure you kind of see where you're at compared to what you set out your targets were. Additionally, let's see if it'll let us do a comparison to the previous year. Okay, so once again, this sample company doesn't have the full functions that I generally am used to working with clients, but it is very powerful if you have your prior year transactions in your software to look at and see, are you growing? Are you, any big shifts or variances that you need to pay attention to? In this case, we don't have a prior year, but if you did have one, you could also do the amount of change or the percentage of change as well. This, when you enable this function, it's really good to look at your percentages to see if there's a vast difference, a significant difference in the percentage of change when you're just looking at this current month to the previous year. In this case, the landscaping company is seasonal. So if you look up here, their income is not very high. Let me collapse. Let me compact this. So here we see their services and income. They made about a little over $8,300 for the month of January. It would be great to see if that grew from last year. We don't have that in the system, but it's super helpful when you can compare as you're analyzing and reviewing and then make notes. So hold on. Another thing I like to do, let me grab this, is I like to export the file. Another thing I like to do is if you want to type notes, just say, design income was reduced due to weather-related challenges. Now, for those in the South, we had some historic ice storm weather. And so clearly, if that didn't go down in the previous year, 2025, 2026, we would expect a dip because a lot of companies weren't able to service their clients for a few weeks. In some cases, if he's doing tree service, which I don't think this example has like tree service, there was a great need for tree removal. And so that may be a variance where your income went up and you would be able to document, okay, this is why. Now, by taking the time to kind of analyze and compare to budget, compare to prior year, this gives you the ability to kind of see some patterns and help you strategically plan moving forward. That's again why I think it's so important we are looking at our numbers at the very least on a monthly basis, right? All right. Is there anything about the income anyone wants to talk about or look at a little further? I'm going to highlight the income. Notice in this case, there is, a total for labor as well that they have and cost of goods sold that this business tracks as well. All right, looking at expenses, I'm going to see if there's anything that jumps out at me. Without being able to compare to budget or prior year, it's just kind of not as extensive of a review as I'd like. These are pretty standard categories. And as I'm looking, I want to remind everyone, as solopreneurs, we want to have a good understanding of what our baseline of monthly expenses is. People call it overhead, operating costs. What are those essential things that you need to have covered every month? And in this case, clearly I'll just highlight a few. Utilities would be one. The rent, looks like he pays 900 in rent. That tends to increase over time. If he's in a 1-year lease, 3-year, 5-year, it may go up. But let's see, what are some other standard expenses? Telephone would also be another one. So I encourage all solopreneurs to have their baseline understood. What is your number? If jobs stopped or were put on pause, what is the minimal amount you need to have each month so that your business can continue to operate? Additionally, you also want to have a strategy to build your reserves in the event there's another weather-related occurrence, right? You want to make sure you have a backup plan, have money set aside. I heard recently that here in our community in Nashville, that there is a business, a restaurant that has been in existence at the same location since 1907. And they just recently had to close because the cost of operating the business, the owner said that the rents had gone up so much and property tax, and it happens, right? And without having a strategic plan or without having those reserves to kind of cushion you, then it could lead to you having to close your doors. So please, please take time and say, okay, to operate my business, this is the absolute minimal I need to keep the doors open. And obviously, you're going to have other revenue goals, which we'll talk about more in March. That's our emphasis, is focusing on our revenue. So I just want to highlight that for you all and encourage you, pay attention to your numbers. We're here to support. We're here to cheer you on to have healthy accounting. Okay, let me check the chat. Okay. Are there any questions I can answer? I don't see any questions posted in the chat. I think I gave you guys some good highlights, some things that can help support you moving forward. We will be back next month for another open session, another coffee hour. And we look forward to seeing you at that time. Feel free to drop a message, send a DM, email. We're here to help you grow your business finances.